Today's car and tomorrow's too would cost a small fortune if each car had to be made by hand. Yet through quality mass production, new Chevrolets are made each year, masterpieces of transportation which millions of people can afford.
These old ventilators are great, aren't they? You know, it's no air conditioning, but on a hot day in one of these old buggies, a guy can kick open the floor vents, open one of these, and man, you've got cool draft like nobody's business. Cool in quotes, you know. They work real well. That is until, well, the weather stripping goes south on you. Now the ventilator weather stripping is so bad on this car in particular that you could lock yourself in your car and the hireling from the court system could still deliver the summons. Know what I mean? Man, I thought I lost you guys in Arizona. Anyway, stick around and I will show you how to replace these. Very simple procedure, does not require anything but basic hand tools. Oh, and by the way, you may notice things are put together here. That video is coming, I promise. But I need to get this done, so let's do this. Now I think this is literally every tool I use to replace the weather stripping. Unnecessarily long Phillips screwdriver, regular big standard putty knife, small tack pry bar for the door panel. You can use a regular one, but these are held on with small nails and I prefer to pop them out with that. Couple of small picks, X-Acto knife blade, weather stripping adhesive, got black, looks like I need to get some more. A nipper pliers, Sil Glide, you can use Vaseline if you need to, 7/16 on a ratchet, drill driver with a Phillips, you don't need to use that, you can use regular Phillips. Of course your glass cleaner, shined up the stainless with Never Dull, cleaned off the frame with that before I put it back together. Both of my seals are from Metro, made by Metro. I believe I bought these off of Rock Auto. They were a good price, a made in USA product, and they work great on the right hand side. So I can recommend those. I know steel rubber products would be a great product as well, no doubt in my mind. So let's get to it. And by the way, I'm posting this as a 42 to 48. Most likely 41 and 40 are going to be exactly the same, I believe. Other than that, cars for a few years on each side of that, they're pretty similar, but there are differences, and trucks would have a few differences as well, most likely. It's been a few years since I've done one, but this will be a good guide nevertheless. Now, no matter what year, what model, I highly recommend you always get a manual and you look through it. They do outline this procedure very well in it and provide illustrations for these 42 to 48 models in particular. True to fashion, I've put the cart before the horse once again, put the door panels on and everything, knowing full well I really needed to replace these seals. So here we are, taking a lot of this back off. Now the book says you need to remove, pop the door panels off away from the door about 12 inches down. I don't even bother doing that. I do need to take off the top two handles though. A nice guy sent me an email and a drawing of a door panel removal tool. I don't have one that fits these particular handles. So I just use a pick. If you're watching, guy, send that to me again. I'm sorry, I don't know what happened to that email. Anyway, I'm going to pop these out. Take my lock knob off. Ooh, stubborn. Now the 6 garnish molding screws. Now, like I said earlier, I'm just going to come in here and pop the first couple of nails holding the panel on off. They recommended 12 inches down, and you can certainly do that. That's what I'm going to use this for. If you're uncertain about the strength of your tacks in that wire strip back there, you may want to use a needle nose or gently use a side cutting pliers to grab the nail and pry it out instead of relying on just pushing with the door panel. Okay, here you can see what we're trying to achieve. Little access hole down in here. It gets a 1/4 inch bolt that's holding our pivot rod down into the regulator. We're going to try real hard not to lose that bolt down inside the door. Okay, now we're going to open the vent slightly, put the handle back on the regulator, see if we can get her to turn. Oh yeah, that'll probably do for now. Actually going to back up a step for one particular screw. We have 5 small Phillips screws and 2 large flatheads to get out. That's why I have the unnecessarily long Phillips, and then a pretty good size standard. But before we open this vent again, I want to take this one out because that kind of hides behind. All right. You may be able to get by not cranking it open yet, removing the screws first. Do it now and it's not all loose, but probably wouldn't matter too much. And if you want to know why I'm using this long of a screwdriver, well, it's just so my hand isn't right up against the door frame or the glass or anything else, scraping knuckles constantly. I can just stand back, you know, and get a good look at the situation. Okay, there's all 5 small ones. We'll get our 2 flatheads here, almost like 2 stove bolts on the old stove bolt engine. I may have gotten ahead of myself. Maybe the book doesn't even say open it yet. But we're succeeding. Okay. Now let's see if we can break the seal loose and pop this thing out of here. Basically, you've got to get room. You've got to get this out past the door frame so that your pivot rod can come up out of the regulator that's down in the door. Okay, the old stuff was very seized up where it wraps around the outside of the frame here. So once I pop that loose, work this a little bit more. I'm sure there's been a lot of water running down this pivot point here in the past. But there we go. Look out for old shim material. That ought to do it. All right, now we simply just Spread the frame open until we get the top pivot out. There we go. Pull that out. The procedure for replacing your glass is outlined in the manual as well. We're not bothering to do that. We're just going to clean this up and away we go again. But the big task at hand is to get the old rubber out. Now, if your weather stripping is a little bit like our project vehicles, you know, she's a bit difficult. You can soften rubber up in solvent. Now, my solvent tank is full of mineral spirits, and I actually for about a week had the right hand one soaking in that. Didn't touch it. Apparently mineral spirits doesn't affect rubber like real solvent does. Then I knew brake fluid really softens rubber up as well. For about 12 hours maybe, I had it soaking in a bath of brake fluid, and it did help, but it still remained pretty hard. It would have been best if I could have kept it in there a full 24 hours. So I just didn't want to take the time. I wanted to move on with my life. So I just resorted to the nippers and a screwdriver. So if you do it the old-fashioned way, just find yourself a nice artificial fireside seat. Okay, it's gas-fired fire. I don't know, whatever. And we just start chunking this stuff off here, you know. I think we all know how to be destructive, so you probably don't need to see this. I've just about got it, but I got to the corner and I decided to stop to show you that you can see on the original piece they have notches cut out about every 1/4 inch just to aid the rubber in going around the bend and to keep things from wrinkling up. In the instructions for the new one, Metro said you may want to do that, and on the back side where the bend is, you can see they actually have lines molded in there, so you can just use their lines. Very handy thing. Now I did the right side and it wasn't a problem. Just thought I would try it, and it worked out not wrinkling up at all, so I'm going to do it without again, but wanted to point that out to you. Looks like the killing floor down at the licorice plant. Now half of this vertical seal on this side is missing. Oh, there's a little chunk up there too. But it's held in mechanically with hooks. I'm just not going to be able to show you. Well, let me go grab the other piece. There's a hook stuck in there. Oh my. So this is from the right side, and you can see it's got a metal back with hooks in it, and they put it in there. They must have bent them over in the channel. You know, it came pre-installed in the window channel. The new ones, however, are just glue in. So I'm going to take a rag with some brake cleaner and get all the junk out here. Now I'm going to put my adhesive in the channel. I know it's cold, just deal with it. You'll be okay. No. Now you can see, I don't know if you can tell on camera, but they have a thin metal piece welded in there that actually has the holes for the hooks. You can measure off of that. I'm going to go a little bit farther, just barely leave a gap at all, top and bottom. See how we did there. Trim it just a tiny bit more. Okay. Back at the table here, I have just used brake cleaner, sprayed everything out here, cleaned it up as best as it's going to get clean. I took Neverdol and scrubbed the stainless just to clean it up. It might as well look its best. And then I took Sil Glide and put it on the bottom side of the rubber piece that slides into the channel just to help us get it in there a little easier. So that's what we're going to do right now. Just going to line up pivot hole here. I'm impressed. It's a great fit. Now I'm going to take sharp X-Acto knife and cut. I'm just going to cut across where the hole should be for the pivot rod. Okay, more Sil Glide, and we're going to put it on the, well, I'll just put it right on top of this. And then we'll put some up here just for fun. Now we'll get this through there. There we go. Now you do, of course, want to keep track of your shims, but what I have found is they don't really, the new weather stripping really doesn't match the old as far as adjustments concerned. I haven't really needed to shim any of our fastening points except this bottom one, and with that one I really had to shim it. I had to cut 2 new pieces of rubber and put under the pad there. Let me get you closer. And that was still pulling it down way too far. I was getting a gap. I could see a very thin line through there, so I went ahead and put 2 flat washers underneath the tab, tightened it down, and now it's good. So you just want to look around, shine a light, and go on the other side and see if you can see light through it. And also keep in mind, once we get our garnish molding on, these lips are going to be pressing harder against the stainless window frame piece, so that will help, but you really don't want any gaps before then anyway. Now I'm going to put our garnish molding back on, and to make life a little easier for doing that, I'm going to put more Sil Glide on the inside lip here, because this actually needs to get pulled over the garnish molding. Now your biggest fight is going to be right in here. This is a little hook point for your garnish molding, needs to go over and down there, and you've got to keep this rubber lip over the garnish molding. So I'm going to be using a putty knife there to keep that up, and then we'll work it to the side and get the whole lip up. Little rubber flap up in the top likes to hang loose, so just put a little dot here. Come on. Just enough to hold it up. Little dot here. Well, there you go, guys. An easy hour or two, you know, maybe just take your time in an afternoon or something, and you too can avoid a frivolous lawsuit. I mean, replace your weather stripping. Neener, neener, you're a wiener. Oh, well, anyway, thank you so much for joining me, guys. You know, we are just about done with this thing. I keep saying that, but we are just about done. One more video coming. That'll be the final one. And we say sayonara to the old 48. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope this was helpful to some of you. Come back. God bless. See you next time. Wonder where that guy went. So I can sneak out of here.
Hey, wait a minute. Look at this. Yeah, that's pretty bad. You know, I don't feel safe riding around on a tire like that.
I don't blame you. That could get you in a lot of trouble.
Maybe I'd better change it.
I would if I were you.